Welcome, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. Today, I just want to have a general chat about this journey and just some things that have cropped up over the past week, just in particular with some comments. And yeah, I think just off the back of a conversation that I had with a client yesterday, thought it would be really good to sort of, share some thoughts and some of my own personal wisdom, and you will either resonate or you won't, but just take what resonates, I think, is always my message. But this channel is all about embodiment. This is where I help people really come into this beautiful union frequency. Not that your soul is not already doing that for you, but I'm here to hold space and help you process and work through that clarity. So the first thing, there's two things I want to talk about. The first one is some of the things that are coming up just on comments is around, there's other information that's coming up on YouTube around twin flames, around monadic twin flames, and, different people can come in and different gates and whatever else, right? And that's, that's awesome, right? I understand, the mind wants to understand and try and figure out, are you a monadic twin flame, or are you not, or what are you, or where are you, and all that sort of stuff. And I guess what I want to say is this is why I'm always huge on guiding you back to your own soul, because it will become very obvious to you what kind of pathway you are on. Your soul knows, and you are the soul. And where we get really stuck and trapped on this journey, and there is a difference between, yes, I need to listen to this and come into resonance, but then there's also, that's going to help me shift. But then there's also, I'm looping in the same thing for years on end, and you need to start to decipher the difference. Do I want to keep spending my time focused on just more twin flame information, or do I want to come into the embodiment and fully feel this beautiful 5D frequency within me, which is where, it doesn't matter what kind of twin you are, that's where your soul's always taking you, because at the end of the day, we're all souls, right? Now, yes, I know for me, I'm very much on a monadic path. I know that, but I don't speak to it because I've done enough trying to figure this journey out for the last, 50 lifetimes I've had, and it didn't get me anywhere in the end. What got me where I needed to be was trusting myself, trusting my soul, trusting my intuition, trusting my higher self, trusting the synchronicities, trusting the visions, trusting the downloads. And that's all inner stuff. None of it was in the external world. And that's where I really, really love to help people, because it's so easy to get trapped in this cycle and make your life all about this. And that is not embodiment. Embodiment is really fully coming into your feminine polarity and feeling into your beautiful energy, bringing through that 5D consciousness, clearing out the separation templating, that 3D fear-based templating, which is what we go through, and not distracting yourself too much, of course. It's so important to just fully embody the ascension process, because you're going to feel better. And there does come a point on this journey where you've got to let go of trying to figure this out and trust yourself, trust your soul, and trust that knowing, because there's no level of information that's going to really, in the end, help you come into this 5D connection, because that is all mind. It's all the mind, and this journey is about coming into soul. The soul knows what path you are on. So the more you tune into yourself and get rid of everybody else's noise, including my own at some point when you're ready, is the highest good for you and for your masculine as well. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to talk about is around your masculine's behaviors, right? These behaviors, as you shift into your 5D consciousness, and you come into that beautiful frequency, those behaviors will not keep playing out. Now, it might take a little bit longer than where you're at, because it's just, for things to collapse in the physical world, it does take you know, a little bit of time, if that's what we want to call it. But they come in different energy. When you're in different energy, they will reflect it. They will start to open up more. They will start to express. But they can't do that when you're not in your feminine. So this is why I wanted to touch on this whole trying to figure this journey out. That's not the feminine energy. The feminine energy is not up in the mind trying to figure out what path she's on. The feminine energy is like, I know what path I'm on. I am intuitive. I'm tuning inwards. I'm learning to trust myself. I'm learning to be the embodiment, to be that safe landing space, and just be pure love. And the more you can lean into that and get out of the mind, get out of trying to figure this journey out, because the problem with trying to figure the journey out is there is always an underlying energy of when are they returning, and that is the problem. It's keeping you both stuck and looping. And there has to be a point where you start to really go, there's nothing more I need to know. It also can trigger your fear-based energy. Now, I'm not saying that content is not helpful. I'm not saying never watch it. I'm saying have discernment. When is enough going to be enough? When is enough going to be enough? Those words were given to me by a counsellor just after my marriage ended. So and it hit me like concrete, like a brick wall. Like, when is enough going to be enough for you? And so that is my bit of wisdom to pass on. When is enough going to be enough for you? How about just start working in embodiment and bringing this beautiful 5D consciousness through, because it will shift in your masculine, and it will obviously it shifts with you first, because we're that energetic leader. Now, the conversation I had with this beautiful soul last night, which she was like, yeah, you need to do a YouTube on this, so it's a slightly off topic, but this is why I've labeled this as a chat, is we were chatting about it prior to this journey, and this is probably more around the Kundalini energy, but prior to this journey, it's very common for your body to start preparing you. And so I'm going to just, how we came about this conversation was the masculines can often, and I'm not just saying it's all masculines, by the way, but they will often be in this energy where they are just trying to find their soulmate. So guess what they go do? They go off with different people and do all these random things. And so when you meet and that energy is activated at its fullness, that soul recognition, and the energies repel, they don't know where to put the energy, and neither do we, to be fair. So they're going to go and put it everywhere but, right? Because the reason why I'm bringing this up is, for me, about 18 months prior to my journey, I started getting into this very, I don't know how to put this into words, but anxious energy. And I actually started scratching my skin to the point that I'd make it bleed. And I've never been like that in my life. And it was like my energy field was ramping up. And I'd never been like that. My nervous system was all over the place. And I was already in some strange energy. And I'd kind of settled down. This was about 1.5 years after my marriage ended. And then this happened. And just everything amplified in my body. It wouldn't have even been 18 months. It would have been about, I'm just thinking it was over the summer, and I met my twin in the July. So maybe 6 to 8 months prior to. So my body was going through some weird shit and I was doing weird stuff. And it was like the Kundalini energy was rampant, right? And I also know that for the masculines, they often will start doing random things as well prior to the journey. And what it can look like from a 3D perspective is they're just hooking up with randoms, or they get into really addictive behaviors. And I was already in addictive energy, or my nervous system was in this, like, I need to scratch, and it was just awful. It was a really horrible time. And my skin issues all started to flare up, and just some weird shit was playing out. And I look back now and I'm like, now I get it. Now I sensed it. So we were chatting about this because this particular person's masculine was doing all sorts of things, right? And now in completely different energy. So this is why it's so important to not judge the masculine, because those are the 3D separation templates, right, that we are ascending out of. You're one being and you're ascending. You're ascending one being in two bodies, right? But we have a second body here to show us the distortion within the field, and it looks like addictive behaviors. It looks like, sleeping around. It looks like pornography. It looks like smoking weed, drugs, alcohol. It looks like any of the above, going into the work, gym, like anything, right? It looks like that. And a lot of that might have been happening before soul recognition. And so it's as you ascend, you will, I'm not in any of that, that all that kind of stuff has completely gone out of my life, and has been now for a long time. But I was in some really weird energy prior to soul recognition. And then, of course, that's when the journey really does start, right? The ascension path. So there was definitely a build-up prior to. And so it's really important to just pull your energy back, really look after yourself, really embody this beautiful feminine energy. If you're still going through the oscillations and that purification process, just know that it will pass. I shared something the other day about, a lovely client I work with, and it's just that what's happening in her world in terms of the reflection is just incredible. It's like this amazing turnaround. And when the feminine really tunes in and goes all in, and what I mean by going all in is really looking after yourself, honoring yourself, choosing you, softening down, getting out of all that judgment, really loving you, your masculine reflects it back. And they reflect it back in the ways that like you've always wanted, but you couldn't allow it in before because you had all these blocks up, right? So they will ascend out of those behaviors, is what I'm trying to say. I see it time and time again. They will ascend out of those behaviors as long as the feminine is out of the judgment and she's really loving herself, or, not gender specific, but really getting into purpose, into that beautiful life. You'll know when union's coming because you will feel it. It's a complete shift in the whole dynamics and the whole energy field. Your life is also in alignment, like your physical reality is completely peaceful, calm, centered. You've got beautiful things going on. You're holding abundance. You're just in a completely different space. You're not in that energy that you would have been, how many years earlier. So just trust your soul is what I guess where I want to wrap this up today. And really it is about embodiment. It's not about trying to understand this journey at all. It's about feeling into it. And yes, your mind wants to understand, but this, I see it all the time. And so, there's a lot of AI content out there at the moment. So just use your discernment. I'm not saying any of it's bad, and I'm not judging any of it, because some of this content is like I totally resonate with. However, if you're going through this process and you're just in these looping cycles, you're not in your embodiment, and it's the embodiment that shifts this journey, not more information. And so this is where I hold space. This is where I work with people, is to come into that embodiment, to come in and really on that journey of self-love, because that is what this journey is ultimately about. There is only so much the mind can really understand, and at the end of the day, there's not one twin flame that knows the full magnitude of this journey on this planet. I don't think so. We all have our aspects of it and our own resonance and knowing and what we are showing. And we are, like I'm showing stuff all the time. I'm constantly getting downloads. I constantly receive visions. I'm very, very connected. However, at the end of the day, there's only so much that I will share, because in the end, it comes down to we've all just got to come into that feminine polarity and let the soul balance out. It's all about energetic balance within the one soul. And the feminine energy is not about figuring this out. That's not our role. It's to soften. It's to come in and feel. It's to come in and trust your intuition. And this is where I help people. This is where I hold space. So I still have a few spaces left through that Loving Me package, if that's something that resonates with you. That is there. I limit it to 10 at a time, because that's all I can, handle, and I want to be able to give my all. And, you know, people are having massive shifts, and it's just incredible. Anyway, you know, that's my message for today is, you know, just trust yourself. Really trust yourself. You become your own oracle on this journey, and there's only so much content that you need before you have to really just go, you know what, I need to start really trusting me. Anyway, sending so much love.